But the kids of the adults who were company that came over, they didn't have to follow none of the rules, and they were even almost treated like kings and queens. In saying that, that's where original hypocrisy came from. Before we were old enough to articulately address it and use the words to comprehend it, even when we didn't have all those words, we pointed it out at a younger age the best we could, and it was punishable by a smackdown or sending to your room or whatever the hell. Alright, what's up, yins guys? Time for another video. And I'm gonna try to take a shot at making a video like this without busting out laughing. And yeah, shit like this, I think a lot of us experienced a version of it. Even my lurkers or would-be trolls might have stories in shit like this. Matter of fact, you know, maybe some of my trolls or lurkers, that might be the reason why you are the way you are, but it is also the reason why I am the way I am, and maybe somebody else, your friends, enemies, or whatever, why they are the way they are, and why sometimes the world is the way it is. I believe the origin of hypocrisy was those days when you were a kid, you were given all the rules and you were reminded of your status and reminded you what the rules were. They reminded you what the rules were, but the rules did not apply to the children of people who were company. They had special privileges, and the adults even had long-ass conversations with their kids like they were adults. All while you were the kid that had to leave the room when adults were present, and you weren't allowed to talk to intelligently like an adult, even though you were sent to school to read and comprehend. That was just to get you out of their hair so they can sit home, smoke cigarettes, and watch TV. That might be the reason why you are the way you are, but it is also the reason why I am the way I am, and maybe somebody else, your friends, enemies, or whatever, why they are the way they are, and why sometimes the world is the way it is. But this is like funny ass shit, and I would do other videos to go with this video, because to make a point about how this behavior evolves from childhood up until, say, you're not quite a teenager yet, then a teenager. You observe this when you're a kid, and at the time you're just a kid, right? Yet it shows up in adulthood, a different version of it evolves. And basically I'm talking about how when you're older and you're old enough and have enough of articulateness to call it out. Part of it is when a lot of our parents send us to school, right? And you're told to don't get smart. And then later on in life too, when you're even in adulthood, people talking down to you, there was the thing to don't get smart. Like when you're a kid in certain households, don't get smart, there was new rules added depending how your parents or relatives or older people that ain't even related to you, what mood they're in, you'd have these different rules and different house. It involves in the house rules, and before I get into that in this video, don't want to say digress or get off the subject, but it's other videos how it evolves, and the difference being when you get old enough to call it out and how the behavior shifts with these people. It's like with older people, and then when you're a grown-ass man or woman, you'd be saying, don't fucking talk down to me or whatever. But anyway, if you cut this far in this video, there was, back in my day and even my parents' day, there were basic rules, and even as a young kid, you were able to call out or decipher hypocrisy before you ever heard of the word hypocrisy, or before you knew what a hypocrisy is. Then you discover the word, and later when you're older, and that's what it is. But anyway, I'm going to concentrate on, this is a companion video too to one of the other videos I made. But okay, I'll get here without laughing, because also the reason why I try not to laugh, if any of you guys try to make a video like this, you'd be trying not to laugh, because in a way the videos are not rants. It's almost like, you could almost call it, sarcastically speaking, favorite memories that make you bust out laughing because you're laughing about it now and you're above it. You're not ranting about it, you're making fun of it, and you find yourself above it. But all right, here goes. And yeah, this is, I regard it as a more important video too. Okay, back maybe when you're a small kid, right? You maybe had some rules. And I call this, some of this behavior, like I said in another video, it was probably a white Western Pennsylvania thing, or a Western Pennsylvania white people thing. But maybe when I was younger, I had friends that were black, that were black kids, that the parents did act like this. But I can almost say, for sake of an argument, that a lot more white people, white families do this. But yeah, you get anybody you know, you might have friends that black, they might say this shit too. But all right, basic rules that were added to as a kid. Okay, thou shalt nots, and believe it or not, there was also ways that when you were walking around in public or taken to church or a public place, certain ways, certain looks you weren't allowed to have on your face, or certain walks you weren't allowed to, even when you weren't given hell for anything, you were chastised. The wrong look on your face or something, I guess you were supposed to have your head down all the time and knows who's boss. Okay, the parents will show you who's boss. Adults are in a room, okay, talking at a table, whether they're drinking beer or drinking coffee, right? The rule in the house was, oh yeah, don't matter what the adults are talking about. You had to go either in the living room, say watch TV, or go outside, play. You cross this line of a threshold of a door. This is where adults are. Get the hell out of here. And there was also a thing where you were sent to school to read and write. You know, like from kindergarten to second grade, you were learning to read and write and count. And even though you were a young kid, right, you were sent to school to learn how to read and think. At home, it was also a don't get smart, or literally when there was no disciplinary issue going on. At home, if you were learning to be too articulate to talk about some kind of trivial thing you saw on TV or what you heard or something, there was, in my house, there was like rules where you weren't allowed to carry yourself or talk too much like an adult, talk intentionally and too intelligently. Your status, you were a kid, damn it. You stay out of the room when adults were here. Matter of fact, in some of my house, I don't know about your houses, you were sent to school to be, okay, some parents, okay, want high expectations for the kids, but some of our households too, like a white Western Pennsylvania thing, they didn't, kids, some parents did, the yuppie kids, their life was planned for them in some cases, but some of us dysfunctional, maybe black or white kids, the parents, it's almost like they wanted the opposite. You were sent to school not to get smart, and for them high expectations. You were sent to school so they could smoke cigarettes and watch TV and get out of your hair. And then sometimes, maybe parents drink, one parent drank at the bar and the other one, the woman screamed, swear, and chain smoke. Sometimes there was some swearing going around, depending on. And but yeah, they take you to church and you would go to public places, and like I said in the earlier videos, so like I said earlier in this video, the thou shalt not. In my case, in my argument here, you were sent to school to get out of the parents' hair, but yet you were told to not get smart. And then I'll say later in videos how it would evolve up to your teenager when you're actually more articulate to call it out. It evolves into something when you overcome it. They evolve to overcome it, and you're perpetually a child. And then even the people that ain't related to you outside of there, you are. But okay, if you got this far in this video, establish that the status, right, about I took a little long to describe it, right? The status, you know, you had to leave the room, and this is adult territory, don't cross it. Well, if you were outside, there was some kind of barbecue party outside. I mean, when there was no beer drinking, there was kind of, it was a power thing. Oh, the adults over here. But then here's where it twists, where when you can be a kid at the time, well, later on, keep in your mind you evolved into a teenager and then 20s and talked down to by other people, right? With all those rules that I described, and I'm trying not to laugh here, there were rules, probably a white people, Western Pennsylvania thing, I'm calling it. There were also rules that, separate rules, if you will, for company. And the kids of people that were company, okay? Oh, and I'm throwing in too. Okay, I got to throw in this here real quick too, along with something I skipped. Thou shalt not, certain things you couldn't touch in the refrigerator that were okay, or when you can and cannot go in the refrigerator. A certain soda pop was off limits because that was for adults. And matter of fact, in some cases, if you had a couple bucks from grandma and bought a small bottle of it in the store, along with a Slim Jim, you were given dirty looks, but they couldn't do shit about it, you know what I mean? But anyway, this is stuff that you can stand-up comedian, or it would be like comedy, spoken word, or like Henry Rollins, like I would try to talk to say like Henry Rollins would do, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Throw in the rule that you weren't allowed to touch in a refrigerator, a certain pop. Oh, and I mean, in some cases, water out of the sink, you know, whatever excuse, you know, that, you know, you haven't asked for it. But for company of for company, it's different. Whether it was somebody with the church with, or other guests coming over, their kids, and keep in mind, I'm talking parentheses here, their kids can be maybe a year younger than you, or a year or two older than you, or the same age. But my point to the beginning of this video, you were reminded with every single rule, and even extra rules added to, that you're supposed to know out of nowhere. There was rules set for you, and you were reminded, even when you evolved later into a teenager, it kind of, for future videos later, you were reminded, you were a kid, this person's the adult, I'm the adult here, I'm the child owner and you're the child, and if I want to make extra rules that you're supposed to psychically know, or remind you and chastise you, everything from what you say, think. Oh, and by the way, I'll throw in too, there was this other rule while it's on my mind, this goes there too. We're influenced by watching cartoons. We're more sent in to watch TV, or something funny on TV or whatever too. So, being a kid, kids act a little silly, and then kids playing, a couple kids in group playing, and playing with their toys, acting silly, right? And you pick up what you learn off cartoons on TV. We had a rule in the house, especially my mother, when we were small kids. This was as funny as shit when you laugh about it. And sometimes grandparents would do too. A saying, it was a Western Pennsylvania thing. Don't be acting too silly, and we might send you to a psychologist, or don't act like that. You sound retarded. We'll send your ass to retarded school. God damn it, yeah. Or you acted too not silly but articulate. Okay, the retarded school, or send you to a psychiatrist. Or grandparents used to say, don't act like that, or somebody might send you to Dixmont. You know what I mean? When, if any of you guys don't know, Dixmont was a place around here. It's bulldozed down and gone for years, but it was closed in a vacant building. There are, off the subject, but there are videos that survive on YouTube when people were exploring the building, but I don't want to go over, do it there. And there was also a rule, you act, on the other hand, too intelligent, something you heard on news, because after all, you were sent to school and learning to read and be able to read stuff. You can even read a newspaper or a magazine, whether it's a kid's magazine, but if you have picked up a copy of a magazine that's more grown up, like U.S. News or something, Some of us are kids, we watch cartoons and science fiction, so you pick up a copy of a Time magazine or US News. Some of us in first, second, even third grade, you're sent to school, right? But you act too intelligent, it's an offense. It's a breaking of a rule. At any given time, there was a rules. Did you act too articulate in the presence and within the hearing range of any adult? You were reminded you were a kid, and then if you spoke of any opinions, even trivial opinions, oh yeah, somebody might send you to a psychiatrist. Don't talk like that, like it was a power trip. Okay, so now that I'm done with that, but when the guests and the kids of the guests, the rules were different. You know, you weren't everything I said, and it was the opposite. Keep in mind, you're talking down to, you got this far in this video, right? And everything I kind of explained about the goofy rules that we grew up as kids, right? So then when company is brought in, and somebody's kid, boy or girl, that was same age as you, can be a year younger or a year older or the same age. Oh, it was different. You would have the adults, the parents, they'd be like, where you weren't allowed, they were allowed, giving them the soda pop that was in the refrigerator, talking to them, long conversations, sometimes with the adults in the other side of the room. You'd have that mother or grandmother. You were given all these rules, but the kids of company, man, they'd be taught long-ass conversations, articulate conversations with the kid like they're an adult. And when you were a young kid, and my point to getting this far in this video is I'm trying to give to you a picture of you're actually a younger kid seeing this shit going down. My whole point to this, right? Then, like I said, trying to remind you, it evolves as you're older, and you've been like in some circles. Your status was given to you even and then some of your parents or even or older people in a town you left. You would be a grown-ass man or grown-ass woman, and if any of these older people were surviving, you're down the same way. Like I said in one of my previous videos, so-and-so's kids, they're on Florida, they're married, they got this and that going on. And then you, grown-ass person, you just walked out on your parents because you got your first apartment. But anyway, yeah, that's what I mentioned in another video. So that's how if you got this far in this video, I would say some of my lurkers and trolls that don't like me and troll comments, and some people somewhat friends, or people that don't hate me, they're just watching, right? I'm trying to give to you, I'm trying to say all of y'all, maybe some of y'all here may be that may be the reason to why a lot of them are younger now, if that a version of I'm saying you younger people that are on here, probably a version of this was going on. I'm trying to say, like, I'm 50 years old, born in 72, how this shit went down. But I'm trying to say, shit, if you got this far in this video, I'm explaining why my mixture of beliefs kind of addresses that. I don't know, this is why a lot of people are the way they are. It might even be some of my lurkers and trolls, the reason why they are the way they are, and some people that are kind of in my area of things, why you are the way you are, why I am the way I am, and maybe part of it's reason why in opposite extremes of this world, why you get these younger snots now rebelling against their parents and becoming outright far leftists, sticking up for every single degenerate, gay, everybody because they're gay and trans, they're all righteous, rebelling against their parents to overthrow the world. And if you're not one of those, you're maybe like me, or you're maybe a person with long hair that ain't gray, like Sticks Hexenhammer 666 YouTube channel, or certain other people, a version of right without being far right. Shit like this shapes the opposite extremes, the way people are, and they're rebelling against one thing to talk down to them or whatever, even though some people ain't right, they just have a problem with the whole damn world. And some of us adapt to the world. We make friends and we do things more civilized and articulate instead of extreme leftist or whatever the hell. Some of us grow up to be better people, knowing about shit like this and laughing about it. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, it's what I was trying to get the point to this, that all the rules that I mentioned in this video, I believe that in the human experience, right, no matter who you are, maybe you experience shit like this and it shapes the way you are later, because you can make videos like later on how it evolves when you get teenage or 20s, old enough to leave the house, and you'll find people that, older people or people that are talked down to you for whatever reason, right? Anyway, but it starts out like, say, in the house, all the rules that were created and added to when you were a kid, and your first taste of hypocrisy before, when you were basically learning for reading comprehension. Later in life, you would be, maybe, I don't know, teenager, reading level gets higher, you words about hypocrisy and things like that. Because, you know, when you're a kid, you try to call it out, and it would be a slap down to call it out when we didn't know the word hypocrisy. Oh, look, wait a minute, what about so-and-so? You know, you had, I'm not going to do a whole video, I'm not going to go spend too much time with it, but in short, before you learned the word hypocrisy, you would say, hey, what about you, and what about, that was automatic slap down or punishment or sent to your room, or then it evolves later into other people that it can be threat of arrest and or threat of a beat down. And I'm not saying just like a police arrest on this side, that's part of it, the authoritarian, and another part would go on the streets. Certain rules don't get smart in a different way. It's all different, but it'd be a beat down later on. You'd be experiencing something that's totally different later on. Another breakaway authority would put authority on you, but that's whole different street type stuff. You know what I mean? But anyway, yeah, I'll say it once again. Yeah, all the rules that I said, oh, you noticed right away as a kid. So-and-so's kid, if it was company, didn't have to follow them rules. As a matter of fact, they were privileged royalty. If they were in matter of fact, when I was younger, I actually hated girls because of that, in a way. If any of y'all out there, sometimes somebody's daughter, if you were a boy, the girl was that. Yeah, this might be a wild guess. If this evolved any kind of a way, it might have been a reason why some boy, instead of rebel against it, might have wanted to be transgender in this day and age and turn themselves into a girl at a young age, where they're not old enough to make such decisions yet, or consent to some things. That's just a thought that I slipped, that kind of came out in my head. I don't want to get off the subject. A sarcastic little, yeah. So when your first experience with hypocrisy, which, yeah, I told my part, rattled on this shit. Some of these videos are an outlet for talking the death of. I can't watch the damn news without rattling on in my partner's ear, and then, like I said, she watched some things on YouTube. I say, welcome to the rabbit hole, but this is an outlet for that shit. You know what I mean, too? If you talk to your partner or other people on and on too much, it's stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, to end this, I promise to end this video right here. I believe, if you got this far in this video, I believe the onset and the precursor to the experience of hypocrisy as a kid was that it was that element that, oh yeah, the adults are in here, you stay here, and you weren't allowed to even speak or walk or have the wrong look on your face this way, but company, the kids of company could be right in the room where you're not allowed, and the kid was literally talked in conversation, them and an adult, would be talking to, if it was the kids of the company, the people that gave you all the hell, the older people, would be talking to the kid that was their kid's company. It was like the adults that gave you hell would be talking to this so-and-so's kid. Long-ass, articulate conversations like they're another adult. You know what I'm saying? All that stuff that was shoved in your face like as a kid, aside from and not putting down basic common sense disciplines for your personal safety, that's a different story. All that, the rules that you were given, you noticed at a young age, right? That it was, they can turn around, and if it was the son or daughter that was of company coming to the house, they were like royalty, and they were talking to them, long ass conversation like they were adults. And then when company was gone, that rule still applied. And when you pointed it out, when even a younger kid, it was allowed chastisement or even a slap down or sent to your room, like grounded and shit like that. Keep in mind, this is like this wasn't a rant. This is more like shit that you laugh at the same time. It's kind of, yet it's not funny, because I'd have to give another video, and say I did another video after this video, I would tell you that I did this video, and to make a video talking about how at different stages in your life this evolves and changed with people, especially older people, the people that showed you their authority and shit like that. And this is also, like I said too, I'll say one more thing, that the other people look at you like you're nuts, but other people's kids, they were expected to go to school and be smart and be doctors, lawyers, and shit like that. What some people regarded as normal, other than dysfunctional families, maybe higher expectations than the kids want, and they rebel, right? But maybe in a house like what I describe, or some of you guys' houses, oh yeah, even when you're a grown adult and you even were in school, and they still are smarter than you. You're not allowed to talk like you know it all. As a matter of fact, even when you get your first apartment, unlike everybody else's where they're bragging about them, oh, you got an apartment, you walked out on your parents, and when you get your first apartment, he knows it all. He walked out on his parents, without getting married and getting this bunch of credit cards and having babies, walking around, eventually some kind of industrial job out of minimum wage. Then you spend some years, hair's past the shoulders, and you have like a out of minimum wage job, and it's like, that's so terrible. Do that without getting married and live a bunch of years single and buying stereos and shit for yourself and eating out. Oh, yeah, the Western Pennsylvania, you can say some conservative, abomination. Then you'd have the other people down the street that I'd say in other videos later that did all the drugs and the drinking. They gave you dirty looks because you wouldn't live the way the other side of the tracks accused you of, but that's another story. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, I promise this video is almost over now. Anyway, you get the picture. You get the picture anyway. Adults give you all these rules, but special privileges for the kids of company, and we're being talked to long conversations like they're adults, but that shit was off limits to you. You were put down. See, you were the kid, but the so-and-so's kids that were company were actually treated like adults, and that's what this video was about. Yes, there will be a written synopsis in here in case you didn't watch the whole video, That's what I like to do. Even if you don't watch the video and you read my written synopsis, you've read that without watching the video, that's even good enough. When you make long ass videos like that, you gotta write a written explanation. Somebody sees that, and whether they like what I'm saying or not, you read the written synopsis, right, and they could say, well, I get it.